Hi, this is Stacia, and I'm going to show you my Tuesday Tussle game that I played tonight. This is round three, and I was sitting at 2 out of 2. So I was pretty excited to play and see if I could continue having a good tournament. My opponent was rated a little bit under me, about 1500. I forgot to put the information down there. Sorry about that. But let's go ahead and look at the game. Okay, so my opponent opened with e4. I did do a little bit of preparation here, hoping for a martial attack, and I thought it was likely. e4, e5, knight f3, and knight to c6. Bishop e5, this is the Roy Lopez. a6 is my move. I think this is called the Morphy defense. And after the bishop retreats, I go knight f6. We're attacking the pawn. White actually can castle. And we could take this. This is called the open Roy Lopez, but it's a little bit sharp, and it's not the way I play. Bishop to e7, going for a martial. Rook to e1. And now that the pawn is defended, White is threatening to take on e5. After bishop takes knight, pawn takes, they can take here. So therefore, we must address that threat. So I go b5. This is the normal move, and this is all theory. Bishop to b3, and castles. Okay, so we cackled. I'm sorry, that's a Mike Jolson joke. Okay, so I cackled, and now d4. So my dreams were shattered. I was hoping for a martial here, and the martial comes from the move c3 because White wants to play d4, but now you can play the martial, which is d5, which is a desirable move. And yes, we're going to sacrifice this pawn, but this is actually, I'll just put it on the board. If you've never seen the martial, it goes like this. So White has won a pawn. Now the knight's attacked. We have to defend it. And we're going to play bishop d6, queen h4, and have a huge attack. And kind of argue that this pawn is awkward. The knight can't come to its natural square. And now that the game's open, it wasn't necessary anyway. So that's kind of the argument. And I'm starting to play this based on a Chessable course by Grandmaster Jan Gustafsson. I'd highly recommend it. I think it's quite extensive and quite awesome. Okay, but I didn't get a martial. So the martial would have came from c3, and there's all kinds of anti-martials too. Like h3 is kind of a sneaky move, like hoping that we'll play d6, and then they'll go, haha, it's not a martial. And a4 is a move, and well, also d4, which I'm showing as the fourth most popular move. This was played against me, and now I was out of book, unfortunately. I don't know this position. I didn't know what to do. And I reasoned that I should probably take the pawn, because usually White plays c3 in order to play d4. They didn't play c3, therefore maybe I can take here. But guess what? I'm not sure I was right. I did take, and I calculated e5, but I kind of had faith in the principle that I should be taking this. And I actually saw that maybe my knight has to go to e8 now, but that scared me greatly. So I actually chose to play the more daring move, knight to g4. So I will tell you this, taking the pawn is actually not the normal move. It has been played, but it's probably good for White. Better is the move d6, and this is what I would play next time. Knight takes d4 is also possible, but you're going to play knight to e8 in this line as well, like e5 and knight e8. And okay, computer says it's equal, but I'm not sure I understand why, and I'd probably want to study this before I play this way. Yeah, like queen takes d4, like I don't know, c3 might be a move. Computer gives it. I could see that. Swift development. Okay, anyway. I feel like the way I will play this next time, and probably the most normal way to play, is that after d4 we just defend the pawn. And we don't have to fear like these endings. Like takes. And if white wants to trade, they can. This is totally fine. It's equal. And if they go here, I think we want to play knight e5 anyway. With this pawn still on c2, the bishop will not escape. We will trade the knight for the bishop. So I think that's fine. So anyway, that's maybe other ways the game could have went. And that's a note for myself more than you guys. Sorry about that. Okay, so castles, d4, and I played this daring move. And e5. So now my knight, I think, has to go to e8. Either that or wreck my kingside pawns. And if you don't know what I mean, I'll show you. After knight to g4, white has h3, which I calculated this. And I thought, you know what? I thought my king side is wrecked, but I have my dark square bishop. I can play rook e8, bishop f8, and I'm almost fully developed. I thought I should be okay. So he took the bait, I took back. But here's one problem. Knight takes d4. Yes, he took the pawn, which already I'm not happy about, but the pawns are equal. I just have worse pawn structure. The thing that's disturbing, though, that I didn't realize until we got to this point, is that this knight is actually threatening to come here. And that looks a little bit scary, and the queen's probably going to join the attack, either come here or here. And the bishop is aimed at my king. Okay. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. But what that means is that I can't play the move I was planning. So I'd like to play maybe d6. I can't play that because of knight takes knight. d5, same reason. So that means this bishop is going to have to stay behind a pawn. And if I go knight a5, trying to trade the knight for the bishop, then he would go knight f5. And this attacks my dark square bishop. He might take here with check. The queen's coming in. Okay, you get the point. This doesn't look good, and the computer agrees. So therefore, I had to play a beginnerish move and take the knight and help the queen come out. I did not want to do this, but I felt it was forced, and the computer does agree. And now I'm going to have to tread carefully, but maybe I could survive. So let's see. I went with the move d6, just opening up my bishop. And I think this move would be not half bad if it wasn't for my opponent's response. So I missed this move. He played e6. So I guess I'm missing a lot of stuff right in the beginning of the game. e6. An unexpected move, but I would describe it as an early pawn break. That's how I would describe it. It attacks f7, and when you start to look around, you notice that it just opened up the queen on the dark squares. And so my king, I wanted to go here, but he's not going there now. And white is threatening this, and when I take back with the rook, it's pinned by the bishop. And yeah, and white has enough to justify this. They have the bishop and the rook on it, and I only have it defended twice, this square. So I felt I must take here. The other move I was considering was bishop to f6, but I thought white could go ahead and play pawn takes f7 check. This doesn't look good, does it? If I take here, the rook is pinned. Queen d5 would probably win. That would be a fork. Also, computer is giving, computer is giving this. But if I saw that in my calculation, I would never go into this. That looks insane and probably losing. And computer does say plus 1.7. Okay. So I did the practical move, which I also didn't want to play. I played pawn takes pawn. Okay. Now I was expecting bishop takes bishop check, bishop takes, rook takes, and I thought after bishop f6, maybe I'm still okay. I'm attacking the queen, I'm attacking this. The rook might be trapped. So it looks like maybe I'm surviving, and that's what I was hoping for. But my opponent didn't play bishop takes pawn. He played rook takes pawn. Pretty good 1500 player. I feel like he played a lot of precise moves that I didn't see coming. So, yeah, and I think I'm just lost here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. The problem is my king is just so incredibly weak, and he's threatening discoveries. So I feel like I must take this. But when I do that, I'm in check, and my king is trapped. I only have rook g7. So that wasn't a sacrifice, an exchange sacrifice. And now he played queen d5. Wow, what a move. So I was kind of expecting this move for some reason, or I don't know what else. Maybe check, forcing my king this way. I don't know if that would be good or not. But when he played queen d5, it was like an uh-oh moment, because yeah, and kudos to him for finding this move. I feel like this is a very precise move as well. And let's see why. So it's an attack the pinned piece move, but it's also a fork, right? So the rook is attacked and pinned, so he attacked it again through the bishop. And it's also eyeing the rook on h8, on a8. So the reason that's important is because I want to defend my rook again. And how do I do that? Well, I'd probably use the queen, right? I was planning like queen e8 or queen f8. If I play like queen f8, which also attacks the pawn, well, I guess not. The rook's actually pinned. Now he takes. I cannot take with the king. I have to take with the queen. And then he takes the rook with check. So I feel like queen d5 is just a crusher. I got nothing. There's no defense. So now I just played to mix it up. And I'll fly through the rest of the game because, newsflash, didn't work. c6, I attack the queen. He takes though. King f8. Queen here threatening. Queen takes pawn check. I defended it. And now the knight's coming in. And I felt like this is going to be too much to deal with, so I actually stopped it. But now the rook comes in. Queen f6. Yeah, and what a move. I was expecting rook to e8 check here, but it turns out this isn't such a good move. I'm looking at this. Why isn't it a good move? Like, he's got a lot defending this. Rook e8 check. I think I know why. This rook is not doing anything, and this would allow me to trade it off. And the bishop's actually kind of trapped as well. So, okay, I think that's the point. Like, computer gives queen e6, and now I'm at least going to get a check in, but I'm also attacking the bishop. I might throw this in. I might have some counterplay. It's probably not going to work, but at least I have some counterplay. But the way the game went was not like that. Rook e1, queen to f6, and he took here, sacrificing the bishop. But I agree with this. I probably should take this. I was worried about too many attackers here, though. It just feels like the queen, the knight, and the rook are all like ideally placed near my king, who has no cover. So I didn't want to go into that. I wanted to try and mix things up. So bishop here. But this is just a bad move. I should just take the bishop, probably. Yeah, and he saved his bishop, and... Okay, now he's trying to trade queens, and it's kind of a skewer, too, because if you look through my queen, he's threatening check. That's going to be fatal. So I kind of have to take the queen, but if I do that, I'm lost, so I did this. This is, of course, also losing, but figured I'd give him a chance to mess up. But he did not. And after queen e7 check, now there is no way out of the queen trade. I have to take, and it's over. And I soon resign. So, yeah, that was a really rough game for me. I feel like I was completely outplayed there. Kudos to my opponent, who found some really precise moves. I just feel like I never had a chance after my one opening mess up. Let's review that one last time. I want to burn that into my head, and you should too. Never play knight g4. Except, just kidding. Never play it in this situation. Okay, it stems from this move, though. Because if you take this pawn, after e5, you don't have knight g4, which means you must go knight to e8. And if you're not prepared for that, you shouldn't play pawn takes pawn. So that's the lesson to myself. And next time, if I see this move, I will instead play d6 and play from here. And I think here it would just be a game. Something like c3 or maybe even d5. The knight comes to a5. Like, okay, it will be a Roy Lopez torture game, but at least we survive. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be back with more. All right, thank you. Bye.